Welcome back to On the Rise, as it is finally time to preview the first match of 2025, and no better than the Concacaf Nations League finals against Mexico, as it's a major opportunity for Canada to get their hands on some silverware and, more importantly, a major trophy. And this tournament couldn't have come at a better time for the CanMNT. And we're here to preview and give you guys my thoughts and predictions for the match, as well as my lineup preview. And we're going to jump straight into things, guys, because this is a very exciting opportunity for the Canadian men's national team. When you look at the two big opponents for Canada, Mexico and the USMNT, they're both struggling and going through very difficult times right now. Not struggling in a true sense, but the USMNT are going under some very difficult injuries leading into the tournament, as well as Mexico has a very new manager. Yes, Javier Aguirre used to be the manager of Mexico some time ago, but now only has 5 matches under his belt with his newer side, and they are going under some transitional moves. So it is definitely a prime spot for Canada to pounce and a great opportunity to win a major trophy while both their rivals aren't really in stride. While when you look at Canada, we're absolutely in stride. Our star players are getting prime minutes. They're playing very well at their peak, proving themselves in big European leagues, whether it's top 5 leagues in La Liga, Bundesliga. They're doing their thing. Even in Liga, this Canadian team is in stride, playing at their best, and now set for a major trophy and a major tournament, while both their rivals are kind of limping behind right now. And when you're looking at Canada's chances right now, I don't think they've ever been any better. And facing this Mexican side, going through a transition with Javier Aguirre as their manager with only 5 games under their belt, there's no better time to strike. And when you do look at Canada and Mexico, you can also, of course, reflect to the last time we played, which was a friendly a few months ago back in 2024 before the turn of the year when we drew 0-0. That was a very different Canadian side. We saw Liam Miller, who is injured now, starting in that match. We saw Matthew Chouanier, who currently is going in some interesting form, starting, as well as players like Stephen Afrifa come off the bench, and Jonathan David didn't even start that game. Canada and Mexico were very even on that day. It was a very interchanged lineup for the Canadian national team, and it was a very back and forth game. But this will be not like that. This is a full strength Canadian side, ready to go out and win their first major trophy. A hungry Canadian side with Jesse Marsch at the helm. Yes, he was there before, but Jesse Marsch with 2 new dual nationals, a new, stronger side, completely in stride, the best ever Canadian team we've ever seen, ready to pounce on a huge opportunity here. And it's very exciting to see. But what you get from this Canadian side, let's dive straight into my lineup prediction, because I think it's going to be very interesting to see who Jesse Marsch chooses and goes with, because so far, he's basically leaked it to Matthew Shinetti. Matthew Shinetti asked him a question in training about the lineup, and Jesse Marsch basically told him who's starting for the most part over half the team. He labeled the back line, as well as one player in the midfield, and the striker pair. So I found it very interesting, but when you do look at this Canadian side, some supporters might say, why did he leak those starters? When you look at the squad, it's pretty clear who's starting for the Canadian men's national team when fully fit, when healthy, in certain spots. Some players are just a true lock, and you get that with this team now. And other players and other spots are up for grabs, and Jesse Marsch left those in the wind still, which is great to see. He let the leaks and let the locks be as they were, and let Javier Aguirre and the Mexican supporters puzzle and ponder on who else will be starting for the Canadian side. We're going to dive into my predictions and build around what Jesse Marsch has already leaked. In goal, I have my main man, who I truly believe is the #1 goalkeeper in the pool right now, and that's Dane St. Clair. He's truly earned it from his play in the MLS playoffs. He's currently on very good form. He plays very well with his feet. He's a great shot stopper. And right now, Maxime Crepeau isn't in form. He's coming off an injury. He's also been the backup at times for Portland Timbers, being out of favor. I'm not saying he's a great goalkeeper. He's proved that with the national team. It could still go either way between Maxime Crepeau and Dane St. Clair, but I truly believe Dane St. Clair is the #1, and he will be my goalkeeper against Mexico. But when you look at the back four, Jesse Marsch labeled it in the Matthew Shinetti question. He said Alfonso Davies at left back, Derek Cornelius, Moise Bombito, and Johnston. Alistair Johnston. And that's going left to right, of course, guys. And that is my back four because It's the most obvious back four. Jesse Marsch has told us that's who it will be. When we talk about the back four, for me, it's the strongest part of the side right now. That is where I feel most confident. It's very strong. It's very solid. They give you defensive ability. They're very strong in the channels. Very fast back line as well. A lot of leadership presence back there with Derek Cornelius, who's been in the trenches. You have Alistair Johnston, who's gone through the classic Old Firm derbies. And you have Alphonso Davies, who's playing at the heights of his football right now and playing tremendously well under Vincent Kompany. So that back four is absolutely perfect. We have our best squad. We don't have any injuries standing in our way, and that is the best back four possible. But when you look in the midfield, that is where the questions arise around Jesse Marsch and who he's going to label out there. He's already said Stefan Eustáquio is his locked-in starter, and I would have started Stefan Eustáquio anyways. The leadership presence, the on-ball ability, the off-ball ability, the free kick specialist at times, Stefan Eustáquio has it all. And it makes sense for him to be the locked-on starters. But when you look at the wingers and when you look at his center midfield partnership, it's up for grabs. Starting beside Stefan Eustáquio, I've decided to go with Ismail Kone. He started to hit forward at Stade Rennais, and I think he's doing very good right now in Ligue 1. And I think that partnership could be up for grabs. I think Nico Seeger has a very legitimate chance of starting next to Stefan Eustáquio. And Nico Seeger has been playing very, very well for Hajduk Split. And what you get from his versatility, he can go forward as a midfielder, he can sit as a six, depending on what sort of the game and really what's happening in the game. He can sit, he can go forward. He's a great box-to-box midfielder. And he could also start at right midfield too. We can't rule that out. But at right midfield, I've decided to go with Tajon Buchanan. He's picked up some minutes here and there. He's finally managed to work his way into the Villarreal starting 11, starting against Real Madrid in a very important game for Villarreal. He's finally showed his quality, proved to the manager that he is a good enough starter for Villarreal, and started for them, which is very exciting because they play a very sort of system close to Jesse Marsch starting in that 4-4-2. And Tajon Buchanan picking up consistent minutes off the bench, getting his start against Real Madrid. His confidence has to be up. So I really think Tajon Buchanan will start at right midfield. And then on the left, I think there's a very interesting question to ask here. Jacob Schaffelberg. Is his fitness up to the levels to start in a crucial game like this? And it's a very big question to ask because he hasn't gotten much minutes this start to this season for Nashville SC. So I think it's a very interesting topic of conversation, but I had to go with Ali Ahmed. Ali Ahmed is the man who I think will start at left mid. He's already come out in an interview saying he loves attacking, he prefers it over defending, but I think the combination we get between Ali Ahmed and Alphonso Davies is very exciting. Ali Ahmed still has that left back ability in him where he came through as a left back, and if Alphonso Davies wants to overlap him, it is there for Ali Ahmed to have the positional sense to stay back and cover for Alphonso Davies. And just like that partnership we saw between Liam Miller and Alphonso Davies, when Liam Miller was flying, Alphonso Davies was flying, it looked fantastic. But Ali Ahmed has played great football so far with Vancouver Whitecaps. I really expect that to transition over very well to Jesse Marsch's system. So that's my midfield four, guys. I'll try to have it up on the screen as well. But looking at the forward two, Jesse Marsch has already announced it. It's going to be Kyle Larin and Jonathan David. Who other? But I really expect to see Promise David come off the bench and play some sort of impact role in this game. Whether we're ahead, whether we're behind, Promise David can play a huge role in this game. It could truly be a game changer. When you look at this bench now, which I will talk about after we talk about the front two a bit more, Kyle Larin and Jonathan David, that front two, you can't beat it. Right now, you go with familiarity. You go with players who have played together before. You go with players who know how to play off each other very well and have that familiarity and experience in big games together, and especially in Concacaf. We do have to remember the dark arts of CONCACAF. We do have to remember the cauldron they're playing at SoFi Stadium. It's going to be 95 to 98% green. It's going to be all L3 fans. And Promise David hasn't found himself in that sort of environment before. Yes, the fans in Europe are intense. Yes, they're crazy. And yes, they absolutely love the sport. But when Mexico is playing, when their home fans are there, it is a different element. I'm not saying Promise David won't be able to handle it. I think he 100% will be able to. But it'll be a shock to his system. He's going to be getting kicked. He's going to be getting booted. He's going to be getting tackled from behind. And more than likely, we know what the reffing and officiating is in CONCACAF. One of the teams is probably going to get the rub of the green, and we know who that's going to be. So it's going to be a lot for Promise David to come into. And I think starting him off the bench is the very wise and smart decision by Jesse Marsch. Kyle Larin has that experience in CONCACAF. He's been here through the ups and downs. Jonathan David is a lock. And Kyle Larin and Jonathan David is a partnership where Kyle can drop into, or Jonathan can drop into that number 10, play as a false 9 role as well, create chances for each other, can drop into that slot in that open half space and play balls wide to Buchanan, to Ali Ahmed, to create space for overlaps and make it very exciting for that front too. So I think, yes, I would have loved to see Promise David start, but I think it's the best idea for him to come off the bench. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think we can look at the Gold Cup for him to start, or maybe even before that if there's friendlies, and I can't remember if there's a friendly window in that time frame. But Larin and David was the best choice. But before we talk about Mexico a little bit, we have to look at Canada's bench. Canada's bench is no better than I've ever seen before. This is extremely exciting. You have game changers all over that bench. Jacob Schaffelberg comes on at any moment in the second half, changes the game. Promise David comes on, changes the game. Daniel Jebison changes the game. Tani Oluwase changes the game. There's other names in there as well, especially at the heart of the midfield. If Kone needs a rest, you bring on Chouanier with his free kick ability, with his playmaking ability. You bring on Jonathan Osorio, who's done it before against Mexico. You even look to other players in that bench. This is a very exciting Canadian side, and I have absolute hope that we'll get over Mexico. But when you look at this Mexican side, guys, it's very intriguing. I think the biggest part for Canada in this game is winning that midfield battle. This midfield of Mexico, it's not the quickest, it's not the most dynamic. It is a very strong-willed midfield. It's led by a West Ham midfielder in Edson Alvarez, and I think the partner who will probably partner him, if I had to guess, will probably be Luis Chavez. Stick with a bit of experience, a bit of familiarity. If not, maybe it's the likes of Luis Romo from Cruz Azul. Who knows? But it's going to be Edson Alvarez. It's going to be a very strong-willed midfield, and it's going to be very strong-nosed. And I think if Kone can use his creativity, and if Stefan Eustáquio can use his creativity as well, and a bit more quick legs that they both have compared to that Mexican midfield, I truly think they can beat them. Where games are won-lost is the midfield, and I think this Canadian midfield is finally at the point where we can overcome a Mexican midfield, and as long as we can get over some of those harsh challenges, I think Canada could very well beat this Mexican side in the midfield, and that is where this is going to become won or lost, because then that's where Canada's going to be able to win the ball, win in transition, press up high, and create quick transitional play and counter to Ali Ahmed, Tajon Buchanan to get the ball to our front two and create chances to score goals. Because when you look further up the field, this is where this Mexican team shines. You have Cesar Huerta from Anderlecht. You have a front three that is extremely exciting in Santiago Jimenez, Julian Quinones, and Raul Jimenez. Raul Jimenez has absolutely changed his footballing career this year for Fulham, and Santiago Jimenez for AC Milan is having a great time. And it's a very exciting front two, and I really expect Raul Jimenez to start up top for Mexico. But unlike previous years, I think our back four is completely ready to control that front line of Mexico. I think it's a very good front line of Mexico, but I completely think our back four can dominate a front line like that now. And that's how much confidence I have in a Moise Bombito and a Derek Cornelius, Alphonso Davies, and Alistair Johnston. And it still sounds surreal to see and hear the types of names we have in our back four and the biggest and best back four in CONCACAF. But guys, this Canadian side is ready for this. This is the biggest game we will have up until the final, and I'm trying to manifest that right now because I truly believe this CanMNT side is ready to win the major trophy, and this is a team that I think is built to win a major trophy. They lost one previously in Las Vegas, and that experience from being in a final, that experience from getting over a Panama in the semifinals, a very rugged Panamanian side who know how to frustrate teams, and get to play USA in that final where they truly just weren't ready for it. Now, look at this Canadian side. They're ready for it. They got the manager. They got the squad. This team is running into a tournament at the perfect moment in time. Like I said, Mexico, They're coming into this not on hot form. They're coming into this with a newer manager, with a bit of transitional changes. Yes, there's still experience, but there's still changes there from Javier Aguirre. But when you look at that US side, they're struggling for number nines. They don't have an out-and-out goal scorer. They have injuries galore. This team isn't in true form. This USMNT side won't be led by their prime goal scorer. And when you look at all those factors leading into this tournament, it's perfect for the CanMNT. Guys, I truly think Canada's going to go out there, and my score prediction, I'm going to say will be 2-0 Canada. I think our backline's good enough. I think we're going to go out there and we're going to win 2-0. I think it's going to be a great performance from the CanMNT. Yes, it's probably a road prediction to predict Mexico won't find the back of the net, but I truly believe this team is strong enough to keep a clean sheet against this L3 side. Guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments, and if you made it this far, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on the video. Smash that sub button, drop a like, because we'll be here for so much content around Concacaf Nations League around this CanMNT side.